think we got it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, full disclosure, before I get into this video, I already made this whole entire video once before. Created the whole video, did the whole editing, and went back and watched it, and it wasn't hitting for me. I just didn't like it. That's all there is to it. I didn't like the video. It turned out to be like 35 minutes long, and to be honest with you, it doesn't need to be 35 minutes long. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna break this thing down. Like I'm gonna show you what we got going on here and how this thing is supposed to function and what I had to do to get it to function. So with that being the case, let's get into this thing. Here we go. All right, so first off, let's get into this, what this actually is. In case you don't know, this is a PSA JAKL. This one is a 14 5-inch pin and weld. So this is considered a rifle. This is not a pistol or SBR. This is actually considered a rifle. As you can see, I've got the B5 modular out back. It's a pretty nice stock they came out with. Die-free co on the grip and the hand stop, Aero Precision lower, HRF concept for the magwell. Obviously, the whole reason you're on this video is the super safe. Up top, I've got my Sightmark Ultra Shot M Spec, as well as the flip off XTM3 magnifier. Nice little setup for close to medium range. Moving out front, I've got my Dead Air Lazarus 6. This is a 6mm can, but it's basically 5.56 can. Of course, I had to do the FDE because, you know, peanut butter. And down here on the bottom, if you're wondering, this is a magnetic QD pivot point for my Kopfjäger tripod. So nice little setup. I will say with the can on it, she can be a little heavy for smaller human beings. I'm 6'2" and like 210 to 230, depending on where I'm at in prep. But this for me it's nothing. Like I'm fine. So if you've messed around with the JAKL, you know they are a piston-driven system. All the piston-driven systems tend to be a little heavier on the front end. That's, you know, you eliminate all your buffering back here and all the springs and stuff. Everything's up in the front and the top. They are a little more reliable. However, there is a trade-off on the weight. So that's what we're working with here. And I freaking love this thing. Like I have dedicated a lot of time to building this particular firearm because I had a dream, and I've made it come true. The final step of the dream was to get the super safe running. I wanted to get that installed and designed, you know, set up, working. That's where the problem come in. So I had some issues from the get-go. It did not cycle. Ultimately, and I'm going to try putting some video of what happened and what I had going on, but ultimately what would happen is I would pull the trigger, bang, and that was it. I would get one shot. It wasn't semi-auto. I dead trigger, nothing. I would then rack the bolt. I would look, and there would be a full live round in there. I would have to pull it back to about right there. It would then reset the hammer, go back into battery, bang, and the cycle started all over of dead trigger, and pull it back, reset the hammer, bang. Long story short, I got a hold of a guy. He kind of is an associate of the internal part. Now, I haven't even mentioned that yet, but AS Design makes a super safe trip. If you don't understand how the super safe works, I will get into that, but ultimately AS Design makes a adapter piece that allows the super safe to work on this, as well as some other firearms that are cool, but don't have the functionality design of an AR-15. So that's a whole nother can of worms. I'll get into how this thing functions. But I got a hold of them, this guy, and through the process of communicating back and forth with him, I figured out some of the issue. Ultimately, it would give me like boom, boom, and then dead trigger. I'd rack the bolt, boom, boom, dead trigger. I messed around with it a little more. Then I got 2s and 3s. I did get 1 on the 3rd time I messed around with it. I got a 5. That's the most I'd ever gotten. And I was like, oh man, I only had 5 rounds in. Maybe I got it figured out. Put more ammo in. Same thing, right back to 1s and 2s. So, drawing board, I figured the problem out. For the most part, it's still in the finicky area right now, but it is definitely on the right track. I think ultimately what I'm gonna end up having to do is just kind of wear it in to get the parts mated. Anytime you're messing around with a firearm and you're adding parts to it, you have fitment issues. It's inevitable. Do you get lucky now and then that it just falls into place? Yes, it does happen. Not all the time. I've literally got 3 super safe setups. The other 2, put them in, run fine. Like, fantastic. This one, on the other hand, whole nother can of worms. So I'm gonna get the upper pulled off the lower. I'm gonna show you a few things, quick overview how it works, and I might throw a video in here of it doing a little pew pew. But yeah, let's get inside this thing. All right, guys, I turned the camera like this to hopefully give you a little better view of the internals, but if you're looking in here, for the most part, you're gonna be like, that looks like a standard AR lower, Dan, and I 100% agree with you. However, when you look back here, you're gonna notice this little finger right here. This is actually the super safe. It's a 2-piece, technically 3. It does come with a different detent, the more rounded style. On the actual point, it's not so pointy, it's rounded off to allow the selector to move left and right. So if you look, it's shifting left to right. So all the way over here, that's on safe, all the way over here, semi, and then if you hit that middle section, that's where the fun happens. Now, functionality of this thing. Semi-auto, bang, just like normal. Resets, off, bang, just like normal. Like, nothing fancy there. When you put it in that center position, though, if you notice right now, this is to the rear, it will not fire. If I move this to the forward position, bang. All right, now normally when that bang happens, this will get forced back. If you notice, this finger moved up a little bit. The bolt will catch it, and it's hard to, this is gonna be hard. I'm gonna attempt to show, let's see, can I do it this way maybe? Hold it like that, and so right there, if you notice, this went back, it forced my finger forward over here. All it did was just pushed the backside of the hammer, or the trigger, it's back here, it pushes down. So this thing is acting as a cam. As it rolls to the rear, it's forcing down on the backside of your trigger, which is actually a pivot point moving your finger forward, which is then resetting the trigger. Hammer's already reset, but if you notice, no bang. As the bolt carrier moves back to the forward position, it allows the trigger to go back into what would be considered battery and continue to fire. So ultimately, you just have this cycle of going like that, back and forth. So that's a quick down and dirty of how this thing works. They're rather easy to install. If you've not messed with one, I do have a video. Go on, watch the full video. I show you where the cut is and all that stuff. It's nothing too fancy. If you have any kind of mechanical skills, you can do it, or you can just buy a complete kit and drop it in. I've got a couple of them, and I've done both, so nothing too terribly crazy. Now, one more thing I don't want to forget. When you're putting this thing back together, I don't recommend Loctiting the trunnion in until you get it running. I have yet to Loctite mine in, just because if by chance I have to mess around with it again, I don't want to have to break the Loctite loose again. I have ran quite a few rounds through it. I'd say probably 300 in the process of testing this thing. 200 for sure, and probably closer to 300. But I have not had any worry about losing the screws, which is, something I really freak out about. But all I've been doing is taking them down. The two front ones are the only ones you're really gonna have to worry about, because the two back ones are in behind this plate right here. So you don't really have to worry about them. But the reason you don't want to tighten them down is because if it compresses that upper at all, it's going to bind then on the trip reset, and it could potentially start binding on the bolt again. So keep that in mind as you're putting it together, assembling the pieces. You may want to just take it and just test on it and be like, hey, I'm good. Run a mag, run a few bursts, and then tighten it up. Keep going back and forth until you get to that point where it's like, hey, it's still good. Like they're tight and it's still running the way it's intended to run, and go from there. But that's what I did. Like I said before, hopefully this gets somebody. I already had one person reach out to me, so shout out to that guy. Hopefully this gets what he needs to figure this problem out, because I had already done it. Like I said before, I'd already done this whole entire video, and I just didn't like how it was coming out. Like, it wasn't working for me. It didn't feel complete. So it didn't make sense either, to be honest. Like, I didn't like it. So yeah, there's the JAKL with the Super Safe. Yeah, it's a fun setup, man. This thing runs. One more thing that I did do, I don't necessarily recommend this, but if it's still running funny, I did this on a recommendation from someone else. I'm probably going to fix it, but until I get everything running, I'm not going to fix it. But what I did is, the guy said that he was having an issue with the cam, the selector switch rolling too hard. It wasn't allowing it to move to the rear position. So I clipped like one ring off of the detent spring. I don't recommend that. I'm not saying to do that. However, if you're doing everything else and you're doing this process of elimination, hey, I've messed with the gas, I've done suppressed, I've done unsuppressed, I started at 0 gas and worked my way up. I did all of these things and nothing was allowing it to get what I needed. So I would start with the pinching issue, get it to where it's sliding good, and move from there. Mess with the gas. Then if you're noticing it's still binding a little bit, maybe try that. The spring's super cheap. Just use caution when you're doing it, because the selector can be pushed easier and you don't want to have an ND potentially hurt yourself or someone else. So safety first on that. Yeah, but like I said, hopefully this helps someone out, and hopefully you guys liked the video. If you got questions, put them in the comments. Hit the like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe for me. Stick around. I'm doing some more I'm doing stuff. We do stuff all the time. So yeah, as always, stay tuned, stay tactical. I'll see y'all next time.